This is your weekly Good Morning Comrade. Jeff and Robert in the studio. What is happening, Robert?
I survived Talladega.
You survived Talladega. How did you pull that off?
I don't know, to be honest. Like, I have some good stories.
Yeah, good stories?
Yeah, to be honest. Like,
Well, let's introduce our guest really fast, and then we'll talk racing cars, and then we'll get into world record breaking Okra, and then we'll talk a little bit about some other stuff too. So first off,
Oprah talk.
Who we got here today? Oh, it's Jack. What's going on? Jack is back.
How's it going, y'all?
Jack Reno, Sweeney, returning champion. I think you're third or fourth time on here. You're basically part of the studio now. You're like the furniture. What's going on, pal?
Nothing much. Celebrating the big win. Got the certificate in a couple days ago.
Yeah, we are in the presence of a Guinness World Record holder. Robert, did you know that?
Awesome. No, I didn't.
All right, tell them all about it.
Are you friends with the two fat guys on bikes?
No.
They're dead now, huh?
Did they lift weights? Like the dumbbell weights?
No, I really want to meet other world record holders, but yeah.
Is there like a Guinness World Record holder community out there?
There should be. I was talking to...
you can start a Facebook group about it.
there should be one. I was talking to the photographer that came from NOLA.com.
So
can we...
What's the record? What's the record first?
Screw that. I want to hear all about the process.
So
what's the record? What's the record for first? By the way.
Yeah, the record is tallest okra plant. I'm at I beat it at 5 meters, so that's 16.4 feet, something like that. Guinness's metric, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was about a year-long process from starting the application to actually hearing back. I had to, bring in experts to the backyard, like botanists and stuff. Our mutual friend Josh L.
Yeah, Josh. We love Josh.
Involved,
yeah. But yeah, they had a nice little write-up of the article in NOLA.com by the inimitable Doug McCash.
Yeah.
Meet Big Okra. Guinness World Record declares New Orleans man's 16.4-foot okra plant the tallest. The picture on there, if you look at our social media that we used to promote this the show, it's just like an image of Jack like holding the like a 16.4-foot okra plant over his head, like he just destroyed it and is gonna like mount it on his wall.
Just hunted it down.
Yeah. You just like killed the giant okra in the wild, like it was an Elden Ring or something.
Yeah. I do have to figure out how I'm gonna like mount it, but
give me a piece of okra jerky when you're done, dude.
Yeah, okra jerky.
I want to make some okra chili.
Anyway,
like, what's the process though? Like, I mean, do they accept digital submissions now? Can you do a video, or does like a guy have to come fly over and?
Yeah. So when I started, I thought they'd like they had like a local office or like something where they'd send someone in, but they like after I asked them to, I like sent a bunch of evidence digitally, and paid for an expedited application. I raised some money for it, and they got back to me like within 2 weeks, and they said, here's the detailed list of everything you need. And they said, like, you've got to get a botanist back there to like verify it's alive. It has to be alive. And, you got to get like a surveyor or someone who can like measure things expertly out there. needed 3 total witnesses and 2 of them experts. And I had to record the whole measurement process, which was pretty difficult because it was 16 feet tall.
Yeah.
So I had to get the whole thing in the frame as well as the people coming out there.
Yeah, wide angle lens.
Exactly. And when they came out to measure it, they used like 2 drones, like with cameras, to like fly, like in a
that's
big
smart.
measuring stick, and they fly them up at the top to like look at it like straight on, and like so the 2 people measure it independently, and they like off in their own corners without talking to each other.
These are just local people, not Guinness people, right?
Yeah, local people.
Right.
Through our friend Josh, who like I didn't know this, but I like posted on Twitter. I was like, man, where am I going to find a botanist who can measure this okra plant?
Little did you know that among your friends you had botanists.
I was gonna say, you think it'd be pretty, even if like like we could Thanos Josh out of existence. Like you would think LSU's
We would never do that.
like LSU's like agriculture department would jump on something like that.
Yeah. So Josh works for the Tulane rough equivalent of the LSU Ag Center, and he just sent an email to like all staff or whatever at the institute.
This is a big day for them, man.
Right. And he's like, who wants to come out with me? And apparently, like, it was like competitive, like who wanted to sign up.
They had to fight for it.
But he brought over 2 other guys, both of them experts. I gave one of them, his wife works at the Ag Center, so like they've got a Tulane LSU couple going on.
Oh, the house divided.
All right, yeah. So I gave him a bunch of the seeds to bring to his wife because they can like analyze them to find out what like variety of okra it is,
right.
like what
What makes it so big?
Yeah. If there's anything in particular about it.
Got mutant okra over here.
But it was quite an experience. It was a lot of fun. Like it was funny. Each one of the experts was like a different kind of stereotype of a plant expert. Like you have the professor, you have the outdoorsman, you have the hippie, So it was a fun time. And then maybe a month after I sent all of that in, like I had to send their CVs to Guinness, like all that.
Right.
They're doing background checks.
They were doing background checks. They after that they got back to me. It was actually the day before my birthday, I think, where I heard it was official that I qualified for the record.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Man, I'm just sad that because of this is one of the things where like the Luddites were right, and also the Unabomber was right, to where like technology has,
Somebody clip that, please.
technology has taken away somebody's fake job, because I feel like that used to be a fake job to like, I work for Guinness and I've got to go look at a giant okra, or I've got to see a guy who could play the Star Spangled Banner out of his nose, with a tuning fork or something. So it's like that's somebody's fake job. They took our jobs.
I know. I don't know.
Digital cameras and yardsticks.
Right. So they didn't have a Guinness person come down at all?
No. They just gave me like the specifications of like you have to be able to see the top of the measurement in the video.
Mm-hmm.
They made me verify it a lot of different ways, but no, I like growing up I always thought they sent people out in like a Guinness blazer, like with a clipboard or something.
Right.
But no, I guess either it's like they've
I mean, this seems very much so like cost efficient, because I mean, I think that the Guinness, I mean, I don't know. I'm just pulling this directly out of my rear, but I feel like its claim to fame is tricking young people to go to the library.
Yeah.
And like one, it was like the things were like Jeff and I are 90s babies, so there was 2 things, and like I didn't go to Louisiana public schools. I went to Ohio and also Florida, but I can guarantee you I'm gonna use my psychic powers. So in the library there were 2 books that were always worn out.
Yeah.
One was the Nintendo Power like cheat code book.
I didn't have that book.
Oh, y'all didn't have that? And then also the Guinness World Book of Records, like whatever year it was, like the cover was falling off.
Yeah.
Because
everybody wanted to know what the biggest tomato sandwich looked like.
And, and like I said, there's 2 fat guys on bikes, and I can't think of any of the other iconic ones. Like I
remember seeing like a woman's wedding dress train that went like all the way down a church aisle. I remember that one.
I know they got like rid of like the harmful ones, though, like the gluttony, like the competitive eating.
Yeah.
Which I think that's cool.
There's still vibrant leagues still running around though,
which
but
is completely
it's just not Guinness is not going to sponsor that. I guess
they don't want to be involved with the overeating.
Look, if y'all going to overeat, then go do it yourself.
My grandmother, bless her heart, she was like racist and crazy. She was crazy because she grew up, in a racist time, but she had one of the most, I'll remember this to the day I die. Bless Letty Johnson. She said one day, remember, they have that hot dog eating contest on for 4th of July? Mm-hmm. It was the most leftist thing I've ever. She goes, this is a disgrace. She had it on. It was on ESPN. It was on 4th of July. She goes, this is disgrace. It's disgusting. She goes, if they want to see how quick people can eat hot dogs, why don't they grill all them hot dogs up and take them under the bridge to them people who don't have anything to eat?
Yeah.
And I was like, Grandma, let's go. Yeah. Based. But yeah, that rules, dude. Like big okra.
Cool. Yeah, so I don't know what the process is for getting into the actual.
T-shirts, you need merch.
I do.
Big Okra merch.
I would love that. My dream is to figure out how to put on like an Okra Fest. Raise some money for a cause. I'm trying to talk to a few people.
Let's have DSA New Orleans sponsor it.
Cool.
Because I'm open to. We've had this conversation before. Like Okra gets a bad rap for people who aren't familiar, who didn't grow up with it. And like even me, like I'm more like I'm not a gumbo person because I don't like the texture of all this stuff together. I kind of want it separate. I don't like it's the mush, and that's the thing with okra. I don't like the mush, but like okra, cut it up, salt and pepper, air fryer.
Yeah,
and I'm good to go. Honest to God, like salute to fast food. Like Church's was the first like got me on because they had the fried okra.
Yeah,
fried okra. This is good, yo. When I was a little kid. But like anything else, I'm like
pickled okra is really good too.
I'm not into pickled, but that's an acquired thing. That's like, but I don't hate on it. Like I don't hate pickled, but I'm just not into it like a lot.
Thank you for your grace.
Carrots.
Pickled carrots are awesome.
I had some
pickled
this weekend
onions
when I stopped at Buc-ee's because I hadn't eaten a vegetable in like 4 days.
Yeah,
I've been sustaining on nothing but red meat and Bud Lights.
I'm always making pickled onions, like especially like those red onions, so it gets that nice pink juice.
Oh yeah. Like it feels like cheating how easy it is.
Yeah, oh my god, it's so easy. It takes 2 seconds. Yeah, you just like little sugar, little salt, little vinegar, a little water, and boom, you got some pickled onions.
I gotta get on that. Let's like a quick thing.
Yeah, and they stay in your fridge for weeks.
Yeah, it rocks. I put that on anything.
Yeah.
That's so awesome, dude.
So how has your life changed since becoming a Guinness World Record holder?
Yeah, I had my first, hey, are you the Okra guy thing? Well, actually, it happened once before when people overheard me and my girlfriend Kate talking about it. But I was just walking home like a week ago, or walking to the office back from picking up lunch, and someone hops out of their car to say, hey, are you the Okra guy? Like, congratulations. I follow you on Twitter. Like that.
Two really weird things to say to somebody, just randomly on the street.
Yeah, bring in the online world into the real world. It's very jarring, but it was a pleasant experience. Wes, I believe his name is. Shout out to Wes if you're listening.
Wes in Japan?
Yeah, no, not Wes in Japan.
Oh, it's not that.
Wes C.
Oh, okay.
I do not believe a member.
I don't know that, Wes. Yeah. But cool, man. Well, that's awesome. We're all very proud of you. I'm honored to know a Guinness World Record haver. And I was saying on the way over here, you might have some competition coming up. A buddy of mine showed a 12-foot the other day.
Yeah.
So we might have a little arms race for
biting my nails
for biggest okra.
Yeah. No, I am okay with people contesting my record, with trying to beat my record. My motivation is keeping this record in New Orleans.
Yeah, keep it in town.
I believe it should be here. Yeah, the lady that I beat out, I don't think she ended up going through with the whole application process because I never heard anything about it except for the initial news coverage. But there was a lady out in Oklahoma about a year before I started my application process who got to 13 and a half feet, I think. And I was like, I'm happy for you and everything.
Not Oklahoma.
This record does not belong in Oklahoma. That is not an okra-loving state.
No. It's not Oklahoma, okay?
Shots fired.
Oklahoma, no. But I support. I wish I could remember her name, but I support her in her efforts to turn Oklahoma into Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I'll do anything I can to support that cause, that righteous cause.
I will say, like, it would be cool just to see almost like if we have like this vibrant like okra growing like arms race. We can almost have like, you know how to have speed running like videos, like documentaries. You can just do it for like weird stuff like this.
I love those speedrunning documentaries where they have like the graph that's like how long.
Are you watching Summoning Soul? Like I've been watching Summoning Soul.
It must be. That's the channel.
Yeah, right? And he has like the non copyrighted synth music, and it's like very dreamy.
I love it.
Yeah, because he got in the news because the news.
His Mega Man video got clapped for somebody saying the F word.
And I've been watching all his stuff. Like it's so nice to fall asleep to.
It's good. It's good.
Getting persecuted by YouTube is probably a really great career move, to be honest.
Definitely. I mean, it goes like it goes. Getting a world record is down here, but getting persecuted by YouTube is up here in terms of
TOS clap. Yeah, time to start whining about it on Twitter and make videos about it and create more content.
Exactly.
We need more stuff like that, to be honest. I've been watching at my, because I don't really watch TV, but at my gym, like the TV will be on, and apparently ESPN2 has gotten back into like what made them good. It was like showing weird stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much like competitive farming, like there'd have to be some kind of rush. Like how fast can you like plow something? I could see that being a thing. But I tell you what I caught at work the other day, and I was telling Jeff about it. Or maybe it was at the gym. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But they have tradesman games. So it was electricians at Disney World
you told me about
competing
this.
to they have these little like, okay, you have to hook up. They have these little stations, and it's like, here's the breaker box, here's the where the power's coming in. you have so much time. You have to hook up the HVAC unit, and you have to make sure everything's really corrected and worked. And then just finishing it fast isn't good enough. It needs to be because you can get it to work, and it can still obviously. We all know if you're a homeowner, you know like things can work.
You can do a bad job fast.
Right, so it has to be inspected by the inspectors, and then it's like a combination of time plus like how good your work is, and they do it almost like pro wrestling because the guys come out and there's pyro and smoke, and it's just like,
oh wow,
it's like this is Joe Smith from Battle Creek, Michigan. His and it's like got his stats, like his career stats, like stats. It's like career stats. Put 4 kids through college as electrician.
Love it.
That's awesome.
I love that.
Part of local 538. Like it's like this incredible. Rules. Like this should be on TV. Like
if you ever find that, we're watching it.
It's so good.
I gotta see this.
It's so good.
I want them to open it up to plumbers. I want to know who can unclog a toilet. That's incredible.
Like snake races and stuff.
Snake races. Oh man,
so cool, dude.
Look, I'm here for the competitive drywalling. Okay.
Oh man,
like the whoever the winner is, they get one of those sick those like work vans that also Beyonce would travel in.
Oh yeah, like a Mercedes Sprinter
or whatever.
Yeah,
they get like one of those.
Those rock.
And then they moved on to like the World Games. So apparently you have to go against.
Oh, you've been
I'm like, so what happens?
In the world.
Yeah, it's like, dude, is it kind of like stock car racing where they had like the International Race of Champions where they just have, instead of having, because like the electrical is going to be different.
Yeah,
like in Europe, so it's like, do they have to have like a standardized? I haven't watched it that far.
Yeah, like different voltages. And all, I'm intrigued. I'm sucked in and I haven't even seen it. I'm going to be following the trades
so hard. I'm going to post it on our Facebook.
That's amazing.
Now you brought up the racing, the IROC racing. I know because you just got cars on the brain this dude went to Talladega last week. What happened to Talladega, bro?
It ruled so hard.
So first off, for the people who are listening, what is Talladega? What's going on?
Talladega is what you do when you're a southern working man. Instead of going to therapy, you go to Talladega
and work through your issues at Dega.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know how many stories I heard from men about like their lives and their exes and their current kids' drama after you get like 6 Bud Heavies in them. And I'm just like, I'm gonna set up. They need to set up kind of like Peanuts, where Lucy had her little like the psychiatrist is in. They just need to have that Talladega.
Yeah.
Just drop a nickel in there.
Yeah. But it's a giant. We talked about this last week. It's like a giant 2.5 mile racing track.
It's country Coachella with race cars.
Yeah.
So the idea is like, the racing is secondary. Where like I'm there to watch a car race. A lot of people aren't. They're just there for the weekend to. They
just brought their RV and like want to drink and grill. So
we parked across the street from the track, which is like, anybody who knows anything about this is North Park. It's like where all the craziness happens. If you ever want to see, like, you watch Andrew Callahan's Channel 5.
Oh yeah.
And he's been to Talladega twice.
We got to check out that Alex Jones interview, by the way.
It's really good. I've seen it.
It's an interesting one.
Anyway.
No, you're good. But the guy, how are we doing on time?
We good. We got plenty of time.
But the guy, like we pull in and there's just like these people out there doing whatever, like drinking, and they're just like, hey, what's going on? Come on over. So we made like new friends instantly. It was a bunch of guys, just like working class guys. I think they were just like HVAC. There's two brothers. They were both in the Marine Corps. I didn't ask them about.
You found some fellow devil dogs.
I didn't ask them about what they were Motor T guys or were they supply. I can't remember. We're friends on Facebook now, but they'd obviously been to Iraq or Afghanistan. I couldn't because they were like, it got to the point we were talking about the therapy thing. Like the guy's like, come here. He's like, come here, Robert. I'm going to show you a friend of mine. And I'm like, okay, cool. So, you know, I'm literally drinking. I'm like half a case of Bud Light in.
Yeah.
And he just like hands me, he's like, here. And it's like, it's his buddy who like died in Iraq. Like his burn.
Awful.
And I'm like,
wow.
Man, thank you for showing me this. Like, blah, blah, blah. And like, we just like trauma bonded out there.
Yeah.
And so races were good. There was a guy in the my girl didn't win the truck race, but she ran 5th, which was the highest she's ever run at Talladega. She's actually going to move up in series because it was super impressive. So she's going to run.
How many races are there on a weekend?
So there's the 2 on Saturdays. There was a qualifying on Friday,
Which is where they
practice.
try and get like the best time.
Yeah,
on the track,
qualifying
right?
and practice. I think practice is on. I think qualifying's on Thursday and then practice is Friday. Either or where's that? So then there is.
They're driving around starting Thursday.
Yeah, trying to tune their cars in. And then Saturday there's the truck race, which is usually like 250 miles, and then there's a 300-mile the Monster. No, not Monsters. Xfinity is the sponsor now, but it's the old where it used to be when we were kids. It was Winston was the top series.
Yeah.
And then below that would be like Busch.
I love that it used to be smoked by used to be sponsored by cigarettes.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen? On a side note,
They should like have been lighting them up in the car.
big shout out to
Blasting saves while you're going around.
big shout out to all like the DSA chapters out there. I think Miami has the best merch because they've got like the vaporwave Miami 80s thing going. Second place is Winston-Salem DSA, where their merch is like their logo is just like the Winston cigarette logo.
That's awesome.
It's so
I gotta check
sick,
that out.
dude.
I
I'm
gotta
just like,
check that
this is about baller. But anyway, so then they have the car, like, so they're the same cars.
The stock cars.
The Cup Series, the highest series, the second race, which is 300 miles. But it's just like the drivers who are like aren't in the top series yet, and a lot of times drivers from the top series will dip down into that race.
Okay.
And then
for like money or
they're driving it. And then Sunday was the Sunday's like the big like Cup Series race. My boy Darrell Wallace, he did all right. He didn't do bad. Like I think the highest he ever got, he didn't qual well. It was like 20th. The highest he ever got was like 10th.
Bad day for Bubba.
It wasn't a bad day. It was whatever. It's hard to win a race, dude.
Yeah.
But the things that would matter to our audience. So if you don't know, like Talladega is the home of like Let's Go.
It's like northern Alabama.
Yeah.
Like by Birmingham and stuff.
Yeah. It is by Birmingham. It's like an hour away.
Shout out to our friends over at the Valley Labor Report.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm trying to go out there like this spring with them. We need to organize that trip. You should definitely come out in the spring. But anyway, so if you don't know, like Talladega, that race is the home of Let's Go Brandon. Like that's where it started.
That's hilarious.
I saw like all there's like all the Trump flags.
Just like the beginning of the flashpoint of a million memes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And the funny things I saw when I was out there. So there was the guys who we were hanging out with. One of the guys' names is Brandon, and he would do a thing like.
Karens and Brandons have been going through it the past couple of years.
They had a karaoke setup. And they had a karaoke setup, so he's like on top of the RV, like with the microphone at night, and he's just yelling, he says let's F Brandon, and then he would just go, my name's Brandon, and then I'm in the race and like I'm in the pits because I got like the super like pit passes or whatever, and we're all hanging out. And I guess, like, it was after the national anthem or whatever, and some guy, like, kind of next to me, like, maybe 10 feet away from me, he just starts going, let's go, Brandon, and you hear this voice just going, shut up! Shut up! you sound stupid. And I was like, yes. But so it eventually devolved into, so me and my new friends, we're all sitting like, I'm hammered, they're hammered, and they go, you guys aren't liberals, are you? And I'm like, no, we're not liberals. Like, we're leftists. Mm-hmm. And then just to kind of get through, like, we talked about, like, because I talked about, like, social safety net, and I think I got through to him on a lot of stuff, and I equated how, like, income inequality is the same as, like, NASCAR drivers. And I was like, look, he's like, well, people should be, because his whole thing was, like, people should earn what they get, and everybody has opportunity. I'm like, okay, we both.
Workers definitely do that all the time.
Yeah, I was like, I was like, we both like NASCAR, right? And he's like, yeah. It's like, okay, so if I'm a kid from, like, Detroit, and I'm a black kid, and I have talent, like, how do I drive in NASCAR? And he's like, well, you got to get, I'm like, well, how do I do that? Well, you got to do that. I'm like, it's like, see how this, but I was like, okay, what about everybody who's listening to this from not the South, like, Menards is it's like an not outdoor store, but like a furniture store, like a patio furniture and stuff. And I was like, okay, so compare that kid who has like an uphill climb to the Menards, like the Menard brothers who drive in NASCAR, and they have no other qualifications besides their parents are major sponsors.
Right.
Yeah, their parents sponsor cars, and so they're just like, I'm a NASCAR driver now. I was like, do you see how that doesn't work? See how we're not by not actively seeking? And he's just like, you saw it click with him.
Ooh, there you go.
And then by the end of it, he was calling people over. He's like, Joe, did you know that liberals aren't leftists? You know they're not the. Did you know that leftists hate liberals? I did not know. He goes, I did not know that. I learned something today.
Yeah,
it's like an episode of South Park.
It really was.
Great.
And he was just like, at the end, he was almost like apologetic. He was like,
I'm sorry, I called you a liberal.
He's like, we're on Facebook now. He's like, you see me post something on Facebook crazy. He's like, just go on by. He goes, that's not me. I'm just online.
I mean, whom among us? Whom among us?
Yeah, I'm like, dude, don't worry about it.
We all post cringe.
I'm like, we're good, dude.
No one is above posting cringe every now and then.
Every post is cringe if you really think about it.
Yeah.
I kind of got him to be like, I approached it because I feel like I'm always geared up to have this conversation. So I have a couple different lines that I share with people. I go, well, here's the deal. He's like, well, people at, because it's the stuff they've just been fed. Mm-hmm. And they'd be like, well, people at McDonald's shouldn't get paid that much to flip burgers while I'm doing HVAC or whatever. And I go, but look at here, man. I go, people at McDonald's, like McDonald's tells their employees how to get on government assistance. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, so
because they pay so little.
I said, so we're taxpayers, right? I know. I mean, we get returns, but whatever. We pay sales tax. I'm like, so that money we
pay plenty taxes.
Yeah, but I'm like, that money goes to welfare programs. So do you get a return from McDonald's and all these companies every year? Mm-hmm. I'm like, no. I'm like, we don't get a return, even though we're subsidizing their wages, these billion-dollar corporations. Mm-hmm. Why is that? It's like, shouldn't they just pay people like enough to live?
And if you work, shouldn't you be able to live off of it?
I'm like, why should the government have to subsidize people's wages to these billion-dollar corporations, and I don't get a return for that
when they can afford to pay it easily because they're making so much profits, et cetera, et cetera.
And that's my like one line of attack. And my other line was like, well, since we were both in the Marine Corps, I was like, it's like we don't have to call it socialism, we can or communism, we can call it freedom share or whatever, but it's like, tell me why. I was like, all I want is when we were in the Marine Corps, we had guaranteed housing, a guaranteed job, food, and health care and education. So I was like, why shouldn't every American in the richest country that ever existed have that? And he goes, well, I put my life on the line for that. And I go, but should you have to?
Yeah.
I go, that's the point. I go, should you have? I go, the whole idea, and it was like they're twin brothers, and I was like, the whole idea of society is that we should be planting trees that we're never going to see the shade of. Mm-hmm. And his brother goes, that's deep. I never thought of that. That's deep.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I was like, I don't want to sound condescending, but it does boil down to like why I do hate liberals, because liberals know better.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, the whole idea of like liberals want, I don't like liberals. I don't like Joe Biden. I don't like Nancy Pelosi because they want to convince you that everything's okay and then just slap a rainbow sticker or a BLM sticker on it.
Yeah.
And that's why, and I even got his, and we talked about that kind of stuff.
The kente cloth stuff.
Yeah, the kente cloth stuff. And he's like, yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. And we talked about stuff like, going back to inequality and stuff like Bubba Wallace is a black race car driver, and he's like, I've said Bubba sucks a bunch of times, and I'm like, I understand why you feel that way because you feel like he's being pushed on you by NASCAR, which he is. I go, but the point is, man, I go, well,
it's not his fault.
I go, I understand how it can feel like pandering, and it is pandering, but I was like, do you want the sport to thrive or do you want it to die?
Right.
I was like, because you've got to start looking for new revenue sources. He goes, yeah, I guess you're right. I go, yeah, you just gotta have to eat that. I get it, we don't like things, or like a part of NASCAR is like hating certain drivers. But I'm like,
yeah,
if you want to hate somebody, or Kyle Busch, like if you want to hate somebody, hate them.
There's a lot of guys to hate
them for good reasons, but just don't hate them because they're being pushed.
Yeah,
right.
But I just felt like I really had.
It's the same thing with wrestling when everybody hated Roman Reigns.
Yeah, it was never Roman Reigns' fault. But I just felt like we had a good convo. Like I try not to, even now we're on Facebook, I try not to dump too much on him because I don't want to overwhelm him. And I'm just like, well, hopefully I just planted seeds. I did send him to the Comrade Dale Facebook.
Oh my God, the like Dale Earnhardt one.
Yeah, I had this. He's like Dale Earnhardt. He's like Dale Earnhardt. He got back to me. He like messaged him. He's like, did Dale Earnhardt really say trans rights? I'm like, he didn't.
That's a meme.
I'm like, no.
Speaking of the sick photo you got with the number 3 Intimidator car.
Oh, nice. That is
These
sick.
guys were like leaning. These two guys before me taking a picture were like leaning on the car, and they were the guys who were like from the music because they wheel that stuff out. They've got like the museum is there on the thing.
The
and they're like,
museum.
hey, get off the car. Well, they've got like one of the automotive. It's not the NASCAR museum, but it's like automotive racing or whatever. But they have that car there, and they bring it out on the track for the 2 races every year. And they're like, get off the car, and I'm like, yeah, get off I'm like, that car is like holy ground.
Yeah,
what do you do?
Yeah. Don't be touching it.
Yeah.
We have to go to real quick for station IDs. Bottom of the hour. You were listening to WHIV LP New Orleans 102.3. This is Good Morning Comrade. We got Robert and Jack in the studio. October 16th. Is our fall fundraiser drive. You can actually support this station by going to WHIVFM.org/support, or you can just Venmo us some money at Venmo-@WHIV-radio and support community radio where we can, hang around and talk about racing cars and giant okras and all kinds of stuff. Or we can also talk about, people who are running for Senate in Georgia who suddenly have.
Who's that? I haven't heard anything about this.
Look,
So wild.
far be it from me to speak ill of a Georgia Bulldog, but who's a Heisman winner. But Herschel Walker's been up to some. He's basically been on this kick as a running for senator as being a strongly, powerfully anti-abortion, really saying that like fathers need to step up and all these saying like the most. If a white guy was saying some of the stuff that he says about black fathers, that would be considered like the most racist stuff that you had ever seen.
That's the point. Is like that's what fascists and the right does. Is they go out and find these people who want to make a little cash or get a little power and say things that like TOS.
Or somebody who just had a lot of concussions. I mean, that's probably the most likely.
He's got enough brain to know that he wants to. He wants power.
Yeah,
I don't feel that bad for him in his CTE.
Yeah,
he got enough sense to go out there.
I never said feel bad for him
and be wild with it.
Herschel Walker's been like in the Donald Trump orbit for decades too.
Yeah.
Like before
he was on The Apprentice, right?
He was on The Apprentice.
I remember because I saw he was like when he got fired from The Apprentice, like, I love you, Herschel. I'm not a gay man. I love you, but you're fired. Like, that's what he said.
And Herschel's just like, yes, thank you. But he also, people forget when Herschel Walker was recruited for the pros after college. He didn't play for the NFL. He
went to the USFL?
Oh, really?
Oh, I didn't even know that.
And he played for Donald Trump's, I believe it was the New Jersey Generals.
Yeah,
because Donald Trump wanted to be an NFL owner, but all he could get was a USFL team. So and Herschel
Well,
Walker
he was one of the founders of the USFL. He created a whole nother league countered to the NFL.
Yeah.
So they can own a football
There's a
team.
really good, we were talking about ESPN. There was a really good 30 by 30 documentary on the USFL that focuses on the role Donald Trump played in tanking it.
Wasn't your boy in that too, Bradshaw?
Terry Bradshaw's in it? I don't know.
No, not Terry Bradshaw. From APA, from wrestling.
Oh, really?
John
Bradshaw Layfield.
Yeah,
I have no idea. I actually didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure.
Highly recommend that documentary.
No, I'll check that
Potatoes.
out. That's cool.
But yeah, Herschel. So I guess Herschel has to follow Donald Trump into the political arena, and
and now according, and just the reason that we're bringing him up right now is because the guy who had been. And I hate to talk about hypocrisy really because it's kind of boring, like doing the hypocrisy shaming thing.
Yeah, because nobody cares.
But because nobody actually cares.
But I think that's the point.
And I don't think anybody's going to care about this either, outside of motivating, I guess. Well, maybe suppressing some amount of people from going out to vote or something like that. But Herschel Walker, who's taken this extremely hardline stance against abortion under any circumstances, including rape, incest, the life of the mother, has basically paid for abortions.
Yeah.
And then, take it away, Jack.
Yeah, at least one, right? And on top of that, his son Christian, right?
Christian Walker. Who is a cringe poster who does conservative stuff. Yeah, TikTok stuff.
Yeah. Basically, I'm a young gay black man, and that's why I'm a conservative.
Yeah. See, I think that this isn't surprising black people so much. None of the Herschel Walker and his son antics surprising me because we kind of grew up with, if you're of a certain age, and I'm sure this gets passed along to even kids now, it's just skin folk ain't your kinfolk.
Right.
And I think queer people are catching up to that finally. That's progress to be you're people are so, I might be speaking on a term, but people are queer people are so accepted now that we can sell each other out for a little bit of money. And people will buy it. I think it's
that's always been the case with every marginalized identity. Absolutely. It's just always been the case that somebody's going to trade on it.
I mean, feminism's been through that cycle 10 times over.
That's true. Damn.
But the thing that particularly interests me about the Herschel Walker situation is how worried some of the Republican operatives are, and they're not worried about the abortion stuff. They're worried about Christian Walker, and to me, I feel like Christian Walker, if I'm a Republican voter, is one of the easier things to ignore, just because I'm ignoring what Christian Walker says anyway, because I'm an old conservative white guy.
And just to be clear, he has basically come out against his father and said he was a deadbeat. He threatened to kill his mother and him, and really all kinds of stuff.
Really chilling stuff. But like I was saying before the show started, I think whether or not it affects the election is more dependent on other things. If it rains real hard in Fulton County, maybe people won't bother to go out to vote, and that's the kind of tipping point, right? I think it's going to require a minor act of God to really change the election at this point. But I look forward to be proven wrong, but I'm not holding my breath.
I'm just very the only thing that's interesting to me about this whole thing is the very a lot of the Republican talking heads on TV and radio and these operatives, the very mask off.
Dana Lash, especially.
The thing is, can you talk about the Dana Lash thing?
So Dana Lash is so she's basically one of these another attempted to make they essentially attempted to make her the face of the NRA, publicly speaking. She was on this NRA TV program or network that went belly up because ain't nobody watching that. And the NRA, the NRA is actually hemorrhaging money, and they're having serious problems. So she sort of got a different program where she's going to spew right wing messaging on, and I don't even know what channel it's on, but she basically came out and said on the air that she doesn't care about this doesn't change anything about the election for her. She says that winning is a virtue, which I actually agree with.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the dirty secret that she's letting out.
And she's she's
100% right.
And she also said hilariously she didn't care if Herschel Walker aborted a bunch of baby eagles, which is funnier than saying if you think abortion is murder, do you think that exactly. Murdering a bunch of baby eagles is worse than murdering a person?
I mean, that's I guess that is in a sense, the silver lining, like the whole idea that these people really believe abortion is murder. Like,
nobody believes that.
Nobody
believes that. And if you do believe that abortion is murder, then you're the sucker. You're the one that's getting sold on whatever. And it's really kind of like if somebody does genuinely believe that abortion is murder, like I get it, I suppose, if they're going to be acting in all these kinds of ways, but like literally, you're just in such a position that these people like Herschel Walker or Dana Lash or like Rick Santorum, remember him?
Yeah,
can just like come out, and Mike Pence can just come out and just basically control you.
Yeah,
because like if you've determined that murder, like that abortion is murdering babies, which again isn't the case by any definition, then you're just you have zero political agency as an individual.
Yeah, like this kind of clarifies that like really the right wing's like qualm with abortion. There's like two things to it that I see, right? Like one, it's a desire to like control women, and in the sense that to like further underline the importance of like the nuclear family, which is like what they want. That's a way for the right
1950s ideal,
exactly, to control society. And the other thing is on a class-based assault, right? Like because rich people aren't going to stop getting abortions. Like Herschel Walker would still be paying to have abortions. Yeah. The point is, if you are not like in the upper echelon of society, you don't deserve that right. They are not getting rid of that right for themselves, right? So it's control on those two fronts. I think that's at the core of their relentless pursuit for this. It's almost a death drive, because before the Supreme Court decision, like it seemed before Dobbs, it seemed like already ordained that the Democrats would be destroyed in Congress, that there'd be a massive Republican majority, and now we're looking at like the possibility where like having a 50-50 Congress is like seems very likely, and it's because I think kind of they went a little bit too far for a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people really thought they'd go that far, and they did.
Yeah,
and the people that do care about abortion in terms of outlawing it are probably less. Like there's a smaller minority, but like a much more like fervent minority than like there's a large probably a pretty significantly larger minority of people who are like hardcore like anti-abortion people. I mean, who are pro-life, the pro-abortion people, right. And then like most of the people are just kind of in the middle.
Yeah,
and like when you do all this crazy stuff, like overthrowing, taking away people's rights, the kind of people that are kind of stuck in the middle are just like, I'm not going to deal with that. Now like there's no pretending for like right-wing anti-abortion people. There's no pretending you're normal. You're actually politicizing these people and against you.
Exactly. And there's no unifying thing for the right as much. Like they're not as unified on what to do now.
The only thing that they're unified on is capital.
Right. Exactly. So we'll see what happens.
I mean, that's the take though. Like if you're in the, I don't know 100%, but you definitely can't come at these people if you're running against them, you're a Democratic operative, to be like, oh, look at the hypocrisy, because no one cares about the
nobody cares about the hypocrisy.
You have to clown them and just be like, you have no solutions, and also you don't believe anything.
Right.
Yeah. You also have to, like, crucially, and this is what Democrats forget to do, present a better alternative that like is like
they seem to think that like just smearing the rightfully smearing the bad guys is just going to do it.
Yeah.
When you like, when it's time for the Democrats to deliver, it's like that Nathan for You thing. It's like, guess what's for dinner? Are you hungry? I hope you're hungry for nothing.
See, and that's
exactly. Yeah.
See, and again, I've said this a million times. Like Jeff's heard me. He's so sick of like. That's why I really hope that when Fetterman wipes the floor with Dr. Oz, that campaign gets dissected by the Democratic Party, but it won't. But
the only thing that they're going to take away from that is the posting part.
Well, honestly, that's the important part, because to frame it back to Herschel Walker, I think I would say the way to come at him, and I could be wrong, but this is my thing. I think the way to come at him is not to be like, oh, he paid for an abortion, haha, we caught him. It's he said he tried to do the buffer thing to buffer his debate, preview his debate performance by saying I'm not a smart person. Yeah. And I'm like, go with that. Call him stupid. Like, you'd be like, do you want to vote for a big dum-dum? Like, go ahead. But don't do it in a way that's like, oh, look how much smarter I am. Like, really just go for the throat and clown people.
Yeah.
Like, you really, like, that's where we're at in politics. You'd be like, well, that's not civil, and that's over. That's done with.
Yeah.
Like, you have to come out. Everybody's a meme poster. Like, you have to come out and just dunk on people.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how different Georgia's race would look right now if Fetterman's comms team was working for Warnock.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I was saying, Warnock is like a normal and like a pastor, low key guy. So I don't know if it would.
Okay, that's fine.
Mesh as well,
what do you think a super PAC's for?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
that's what a PAC's for.
Yeah,
to come out and do all your dirt.
102.3 reminds you the midterm elections for the state of Louisiana is on Tuesday, November 8th, with early voting beginning November 25th. This cycle will determine who will represent the state in the U.S. Senate, U.S. House of Representatives, judges for the Court of Appeals, Municipal Traffic Court, and First City Court. There are also several critical amendments on the ballot. Find out all the candidates and proposed amendments by downloading the free mobile app Go Vote. That's GEAUX Vote. We'll see you at the polls Tuesday, November 8th. Another community service reminder from the station dedicated to human rights and social justice, WHIV 102.3 FM.
As a native Louisianian and New Orleanian, how do you feel about the Go with the X?
I think it's something that really kind of popped up over the past 15 or so years. Was like really
I don't know.
It started with Go Tigers.
I don't know if it's offensive or cringe.
Yeah, so it's not offensive. It's
growing up in Baton Rouge, it was omnipresent my whole life. It's been around since the 90s in Baton Rouge for LSU, but it carrying over to things outside of LSU football is
pretty cringe.
Interesting. It is kind of cringe, but what else are they going to call it's easy to remember and tell people what the name of the Go Vote site is, which, with how bad and difficult it is to actually register to vote in the state relative to other states, I'll take it.
Is it though? Because I thought
they're one of the worst.
Oh really? Our app's really good.
The app's fine.
The app's decent.
That's how I registered and changed my registration and all that off the app.
Yeah, but you go on if you're on the website, right? You gotta do I used to design websites and stuff. I'm a online guy. You got to do too many clicks.
We need you for our website.
you got to do too many clicks to actually get to the
Secretary of State's website. Unusable.
Fair.
Yeah. That thing was designed. And
maybe it's just my expectations for Louisiana are on the floor.
Yeah.
I just think that we do a lot of things that are. I'm like, well, okay, Louisiana, our license plate registration, I can just one click that and just get a new sticker mailed to me. Yeah. Okay, Louisiana, or even the COVID when Vax cards were a thing.
Oh yeah, we had the LA wallet. Yeah,
let's go.
I still use that.
Yeah. I was trying to use that out of state. Mm-hmm. And they don't have that even in California. They would not accept it. They're this is not a vaccine card. I'm sorry, this is legal in Louisiana. Yeah. They promised me, but that was the one time we were a little bit ahead of everyone else when something was.
How silly! That's so silly because it's what do you think is more legit? This thing from the state. Or some little piece of paper that I could just do whatever.
Print it out.
I don't want to say, I worked for the city, so there was a time where I just had 50 blank vaccine cards.
Oh wow,
nice.
And I'm just I had.
There's nothing official about them,
and I was just filling them out for me and keeping them in my safe.
Yeah,
in case I needed one before LA Wallet.
Yeah, I remember.
So it's who? What?
Less than a month after
I didn't do any vaccine fraud, y'all.
I remember less than a month after they started requiring vaccine cards to get into places, customs, maybe it was ICE actually seized a box of counterfeit vaccine cards here in New Orleans. It took less than a month for that to be going around.
It's so dumb.
Yeah.
Let's change the subjects really quickly. I wanted to talk about this because this is really significant. So Amazon. Bad. Very bad. There is I'll just read straight from this article. There's a headline. Unreal. Amazon suspends 50 employers who refuse to work after a fire broke out. This is up in Staten Island at the JFK 9, I want to say, plant, the distribution facility or warehouse where the Amazon labor union has successfully, petitioned and gotten a vote for a union. So this is a little bit alarming. An Amazon labor union lawyer, Seth Goldstein, called the punishment of Staten Island employees, quote, a violation of workers' rights to join a collective action about the terms and conditions of their employment. Amazon on Tuesday suspended at least 50 workers who refused to return to the shop floor. This is by Ken Stansel, by the way. To return to the shop floor a few hours on Monday night due to health and safety concerns following a fire at the JFK 8 Fulfillment Center in New York City. The company's only unionized warehouse in the United States. Are they just trying to triangle shirtwaist factory? This
right.
JFK 8. I mean, it's definitely similar feel.
Yeah.
Roughly 100 night shift workers at the Staten Island facility participated in the work stoppage shortly after a fire broke out in a trash compactor machine used on cardboard. The Washington Post reported, citing officials from the Amazon labor union. Labor leaders said the warehouse smelled of smoke, that they couldn't breathe. One worker went to the hospital, they said. This is before the fire. Wow.
So it was already smoking before the fire?
Yeah, it was smoking, this, I guess, baler or something like that. Was, I guess, smoking. I guess you get something on fire in there, or if it's brakes or some kind of thing. I don't know. I'm not a baler expert.
Yeah.
But yeah, late Monday night, Christian Smalls, the president of the ALU, tweeted out, I've been out there in the rain talking to upset workers instead of being at home. Amazon management is threatening time deductions and written warnings for not returning back to the floor. The dock smells like burnt chemicals, but instead of shutting down, they hire a cleanup crew. Smalls recently shared footage of the fire and ensuing protests on social media. Instead of addressing the concerns of health and safety, putting workers on paid suspension was Amazon's response. He wrote, shame on them. Yeah. So if you're you have a right as a worker to not refuse to work in an unsafe environment. Right. You have a technical right to do it. Now your ability to exercise that right depends on whether or not you can get away with it. And if every other worker is also hey, this is pretty dangerous, let's not do it, which is what happened, then Amazon's going to come in and suspend you. Yeah. That's straight up as illegal as it gets.
Yeah, it seems like Amazon's trying to be so evil that they can outpace the Labor Relations Board's ability to reprimand.
Oh, I didn't even. Yeah,
that's what it seems like
because it works in the NLRB.
Well, it's almost to the point where they're too big to fail. I was watching a YouTube video this morning before I came in here about Uber, and I was their strategy was, well, we're breaking laws, but who cares? Let's just monopolize the market. Yeah. And then once we've done that, what can they do?
Yeah, and they had enough money. They weren't making money, but they had enough to burn that they could just...
Oh, for investors, yeah. Right. So it's Amazon's got to have the same thing. We're so big, what are you going to do? Mm-hmm. You're going to shut us all down? I don't think so.
And I mean, this is one of the dark Brandon things. One of the things you got to hand it to Joe Brandon, that even though the NLRB it needs so much more resources, so much more funding, so much more staff, but when they do manage to
appointments to the board, yeah,
right, when the board is able to actually follow through on its job, right, with the Starbucks workers and everything, they've been doing the right things. It's the best labor relations board since I've been alive, but they just can't go fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
They can't. They're being outpaced by capital. I mean,
yeah. ALU lawyer Seth Goldstein called the punishment of Staten Island employees a violation of workers' rights to join a collective action about the terms and conditions of their employment. Quote, the workers didn't feel safe going back to work, said Goldstein. They were engaging in rights that have been protected for 85 years under the National Labor Relations Act. Yeah, so obviously the ALU lawyer is on the case. Yeah. Good old Seth. As the Post, which is owned by Amazon's mega billionaire founder, Jeff Bezos, reported, quote, the mass suspensions took place less than 10 days before warehouse workers at a separate warehouse in Albany, New York, are slated to vote to become the second Amazon workforce to join ALU. So that could be part of this message of union busting, essentially, too. Yeah. It doesn't matter if your building is on fire, your union won't protect you. Right. Like that kind of stuff.
Right. Like when Starbucks tried to offer those benefits to all the non-union.
Yeah. ALU scored a historic victory for the labor movement in April when workers at JFK 8 voted to form the nation's first Amazon union. This is all backstory here. But, that's really wild that, remember when they talked about, Amazon's strategy of just, using up workers and just, moving on? This is, that to, the logical conclusion, I guess you could say. Just we literally do not care what happens to these people as long as we get our, line go up.
Yeah. I mean, to reappropriate a Thatcherism, the problem with that is eventually you run out of workers to get rid of.
You run out of other people.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're just weaponizing what corporate America's been doing since I can remember entering the job market. It's just the not saying loud, but just it's cheaper for us to just churn people than to get than to retain people. So it's why do they do that? Why don't they just pay people? Well, it's cheaper just to churn.
Yeah,
we don't care. And I've worked so many jobs that have that same mindset of just we'll just wear you out and then we'll just get somebody else because we're in we're in Kentucky or rural Ohio or wherever these plants are where you're just the only major employer. And, I thought about you the other day, Jeff, because when I drove to Talladega, he goes right through Bessemer and Mercedes plant. I was thinking of that.
Yeah, we definitely. The struggle out there actually does still continue, despite the fact that they did not win. Yeah. But we'll see how that kind of plays out as well for the Amazon workers at that facility. Just got to read a little bit more station ID stuff, and we'll get out of here. Join Sally Jackson and co-host Joan Carabasas and Tyra Ellis for PFLAG Expanding the Rainbow, Thursdays at 9 a.m. Discover events and news important to the LGBTQ plus community. PFLAG with Sally Jackson, Thursday at 9 a.m. on the station dedicated to human rights and social justice, WHIV 102.3 FM. So just sort of last thing before we head out, Jack, how you feeling about being a world record holder, man?
Feeling good. Stay tuned. I'm going to try to figure out pulling an Okra Fest together. So, stay tuned. Stay tuned here. Stay tuned on Twitter and all those other wonderful online places.
Where can people follow you?
JRS97 on Twitter. That's the best place to find me.
Cool.
Thanks for having me, y'all. It's always fun.
Of course, man.
Yeah, anytime. Seriously.
Yeah. And then, Robert, anything before we go?
I don't know. I was tired when I came in here. Now I'm energized. I hope that people feel the same way.
That's good.
Cool. We got Red and Russ coming in. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. This has been Good Morning Comrade on WHIV LP New Orleans. We love you. Bye-bye.
As I get off this call.
What's up?
So I'm going to pack as soon as I get off this call.
Cool. Tell Aaron I said hello.